Despite earlier reports that she was on her way out the door, it seems that Lucasfilm director Kathleen Kennedy is still around and she's not going anywhere.
Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the
Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Berry. Welcome to the StudioJake vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and if you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. This is why I avoided discussing Kathleen Kennedy's retirement, as reported by the mainstream media, the corporate press. She doubled down at a Star Wars Celebration event in Asia, declaring she is not retiring, and in fact, she went on to announce a plethora of new projects. This is according to fandompulse.substack.com. Lucasfilm's president, Kathleen Kennedy, 71, announced that she has no plans to leave Lucasfilm anytime soon. While at Star Wars Celebration in Japan, Kennedy informed Collider, "I'm not retired, I'm not going anywhere." The comments come in the wake of a rumor back at the end of February that she would be exiting the company. Matthew Bellany at Puck reported at the time, "After years of speculation and polite urging from observers like me, Kathleen Kennedy has informed Disney, as well as friends and associates, that she will exit as Lucasfilm president by the end of the year, per 3 sources." Bellany went on to state that Kennedy planned to exit last year and even had an exit interview planned, but chose to stay through 2025. However, Kennedy addressed the rumor in an interview with Deadline, saying, "The truth is, and I want to say loud and clear, I am not retiring. I will never retire from movies. I will die making movies. That is the first thing that's important to say. I am not retiring." She then specifically discussed her status at Lucasfilm. "What's happening at Lucasfilm is I have been talking for quite some time with both Bob and Alan about what eventual succession might look like. We have an amazing bench of people here, and we have every intention of making an announcement months or a year down the road. We are in lockstep as to what that's going to be, and I am continuing. I'm producing the Mandalorian movie right now, and I'm also producing Sean Levy's movie, which is after that. So I'm continuing to stay at Lucasfilm and looking very thoughtfully with Bob and Alan as to who's stepping in. So that is all underway, and we have every right to make that announcement when we want to make it," she added. Lucasfilm announced at Star Wars Celebration that Ryan Gosling will be starring in Sean Levy's film, which is titled Star Wars Starfighter and is set 5 years after the rise of Skywalker. In her interview with Deadline, Kennedy went on to reiterate that there is no chaos behind the scenes at Lucasfilm. Chaos? There has never been any chaos because we know exactly what the plan is and we've been talking about it. As I said, nonstop for the last couple of years because for obvious reasons I'm not going to be here forever. George asked me 13 years ago to step in, and now I'm looking at who's going to replace me. And as I've said, we have a bench of people internally to handle the business, the creative side. The job has grown also since I stepped in. There was no streaming, and there weren't a lot of the things that we're involved in right now going on, so it has grown. When asked when a change at Lucasfilm might occur, Kennedy reiterated, "We'll probably make an announcement months or a year out, and I have every intention of sticking around to help that person be successful. I'm already producing the Mandalorian movie, and Sean Levy's is after that." She also noticed that previous reports and rumors were just that, rumors. Any discussion previously about me retiring or quitting or any of those things, that's complete rumor mill, because through all of these reports, I have just continued doing my job and continuing my contract. Nothing unusual. It all has just been manufactured. When asked if she was being pushed out, she responded, "Is absolutely not the case. It could not be further from the truth. And everything that we do inside of Lucasfilm is in lockstep and in communication with Disney. We all know what's going on. The communication has been completely collaborative, as you would expect. This is a big piece of business for them, and they want to empower me to help them make that decision and that choice. I'm doing that," she declared. All right, so then they go on to talk a little bit more about the interview and a few more Kathleen Kennedy quotes. So I want you to head on over to fandompulse.com and read it for yourself. Stories like that are exactly why I stopped talking about rumors about Kathleen Kennedy's impending retirement, because they always just seem to be that, rumors. Now, I've always said I like talking about rumors. They're fun, they're engaging, they're interesting, and they give us kind of a glimpse on the winds of what's going on in the backlots of Hollywood. However, at some point, you have to think that a lot of the rumors are just started by fans with wishful thinking. Now, I'm one of those fans who would love to see Kathleen Kennedy fired and see Tony Gilroy or Jon Favreau step into the top spot at Lucasfilm, but that's just not going to happen, at least not in the near future. What I think is interesting is that she announced even more Star Wars films. Ryan Johnson's Star Wars trilogy that was supposed to take place in the Old Republic, that he was working on with the former Game of Thrones showrunners, dead in the water. In fact, the Game of Thrones showrunners, they were supposed to have their own movie, dead in the water. The Patty Jenkins directed Star Wars film, dead in the water. The Taika Waititi Star Wars film, dead in the water. And now it seems that the Daisy Ridley led Star Wars film, where she was going to have a triumphant return as Rey Palpatine to set off a new Star Wars trilogy, that was dead in the water as well. It was going nowhere. It was going to end up nowhere. They keep firing writers because they can't get along with Kathleen Kennedy and the director's vision for creating a feminist utopia in a galaxy far, far away. So what's getting ahead? The Mandalorian film and Sean Levy's film Star Wars Starfighter, which stars Ryan Gosling. I find that incredibly hilarious that Sean Levy. Now, makes sense to give Sean Levy a Star Wars movie. He's really hot off the success of Deadpool and Wolverine, not to mention a plethora of other films that he's done that have been pretty well received at the box office. So yeah, it makes sense. But Kathleen Kennedy's self-insert character Rey is getting pushed to the back burner in favor of this because Disney is so anxious to make money off Star Wars. All of their projects, including even some good ones, have been bombs because of the likes of Obi-Wan Kenobi, The Acolyte, and Solo, a Star Wars movie. All epic failures that you cannot ignore. So yeah, it makes sense that Kathleen Kennedy would want to stick on like a barnacle so she can see her Rey Palpatine movie come to fruition. This is the thing that she has been angling for. Now, I don't believe that Rey movie is going to be a trilogy anymore. That was what they were saying. Rey was going to get her own trilogy. It was going to set up her own saga, but I don't think that's happening. I think it's going to be a standalone movie similar to Rogue One and Solo, a Star Wars movie. She's going to get pushed out after that, but I think that is what she's holding on to. I honestly think she is gambling on The Mandalorian doing well. It might, because Grogu is probably one of their last fast-selling toys, so there is a possibility that the Mandalorian and Grogu film will do good. But just remember, Lucasfilm burned all of the goodwill they had with that show after the unceremoniously firing of Gina Carano, not to mention the mediocre season 3 of The Mandalorian, which for some reason had Jack Black and Lizzo guest starring in it. I've said this before. I like Jack Black. I'm not one of these Jack Black haters, but he is in freaking everything. Can we scale it back a little bit? I'm kind of getting tired of seeing him. I don't need to see him in Star Wars. Same with Lizzo. Why was she in Star Wars? She's not even an actress. She certainly wasn't a good actress in the episode she was in. Why have her appear? Anyway, all that goodwill has been burned away. So they're going to have to rely on just kids wanting to see Baby Yoda in the theaters. And with Star Wars Starfighter, they're going to have to rely on Ryan Gosling's celebrity appeal, which certainly expanded a little bit with Barbie. I mean, he won a lot of the awards that were nominated as far as Barbie goes, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. But she is gambling on those two movies doing well. They've been pushed up at the front ahead of a bunch of other announced Star Wars projects that aren't coming into fruition, including Kathleen Kennedy's own self-insert Star Wars movie. So we're going to have to see, but I think she's gambling on those two movies doing well at the box office so she can get an expanded budget on the Rey Palpatine movie, and then that movie is going to determine her future. Now, this is just me speculating, but I think it's an educated guess. If you like that video, be sure to give it a like, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment and tell me what you think, and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast. And if you would like to support the channel, become a channel member. You can also support the work that I do by heading on over to my new website, studiojakemedia.substack.com, where you can sign up for different subscription tiers, but most of my articles are available for free, but you can subscribe to be a part of the conversation or even to suggest a topic that you would like me to broach in the articles. I would love to have you there. I also write books. I've got Cacophony, a supernatural thriller about angels battling demons for the souls of a small Texas town. You're not going to want to miss this one, especially if you're into angelology and the paranormal. If fairy tales are more your speed, check out my fantasy novels, the Seven Royals series. Book 1 is All Good Things. Book 2 is Breaking the Stars. And Book 3 is on its way. It is about a group of your favorite fairy tale characters who have to come together to stop a dark army from conquering their lands. It is filled with magic and dragons and epic battles you are not going to want to miss. And last but certainly not least is my latest fantasy romance novella, Blessed Child. It follows an elf princess who discovers she is pregnant with a human baby. This sends the elf kingdom into chaos, so her father, the king of the elves, has to hire her a bodyguard. Now, he is a knight who has been disgraced but is on the path of redemption. The princess and the knight form an unlikely friendship as they navigate the turmoil around them. It is about courage under fire. It is life affirming, and I guarantee you are going to want to read it. So pick up this one or all four at Amazon.com. Leave me a 5-star review. It really helps out small indie creators like myself. And if you want more information about my books, head on over to StudioJakeMedia.locals.com, where you can also read my short stories and poems. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.